The wind was cold that night when Nathaniel James was left at the doorstep of St. Elora S. Orphanage. He was wrapped in a torn blanket with no note and no sign of who left him. A tiny baby with big brown eyes already waiting for something better. The nuns named him Nathaniel, which meant gift of God, though life rarely felt like one for him. St. Elora SS stood on the outskirts of Asheville, a small American town filled with more struggles than chances. The orphanage was aging, worn, and forgotten by most. Children came and went, some lucky enough to be adopted, others drifting into adulthood like boats without anchors. Nathaniel watched them all, watched his friends leave for homes while he stayed behind, watched families pass him by again and again. He remained invisible, hoping someone might see him. Each time visitors came, he tried his best. He combed his hair, smiled politely, and waited. Every time they chose someone else, he returned to his bunk and stared at the ceiling. He stopped crying because it didn't help. Crying only made him feel smaller, and he already felt invisible enough. By 12, Nathaniel knew every sound in the old building, every creak, every whisper of bedtime prayers. He watched birthdays come and go without celebration. He no longer believed someone would choose him. It was easier not to hope. But then came Miss Dalka, the part-time art teacher who brought something different with her. She wore scarves that smelled like lavender and told the kids their imagination was their superpower. Most painted superheroes or fairy tales, but Nathaniel always painted eyes. Sad eyes, quiet eyes, eyes that carried stories he couldn't speak. One day she stayed behind while he cleaned the brushes. She asked him why he painted eyes. He shrugged. She said, "Because you're still waiting for someone to really see you." That night, for the first time in years, he cried quietly alone on his bunk. When Nathaniel turned 18, the system let him go. He left with a trash bag of clothes, a few papers, and $50. There was no celebration, no goodbye, no one wishing him luck. He went to a shelter in the city where many aged-out kids ended up. Life became about survival. He worked wherever he could, washing dishes, scrubbing floors, passing out flyers. No family, no home, no degree. But deep down, he carried something powerful. He never gave up. One night, after a long, hard day, he stood on the shelter's rooftop, thinking maybe it was time to give up. He stared at the city lights, wondering if anyone would miss him. Then he remembered Miss Dalka's words. "You're still waiting for someone to see you." Maybe that someone had to be him. He didn't jump. He walked back down and took out an old notebook. He started writing about the orphanage, the silence, the pain. The words flowed out raw and honest. He called it Unchosen. Publishers ignored him. Rejection letters came and went. But one small publisher took a chance after reading his cover letter, which said, "I want the invisible kids to know they exist." The book didn't become famous overnight, but it moved people. Teachers passed it around, counselors recommended it, students read it and saw themselves in his words. He was invited to speak at a college, then a school, then a TEDx talk. His hands trembled, but people listened. Because his story wasn't polished. It was real. It hurt and healed at the same time. He spoke about being unwanted, about teaching yourself to believe in your worth, about how pain doesn't define you, how sometimes the world won't choose you and you must choose yourself. In 5 years, Nathaniel became a full-time speaker. He traveled across the country sharing his journey. He reminded people that scars don't mean broken, they mean you survived. He told them that rejection is not the end, that even in the darkest place there is still a choice to rise. One morning in Chicago, he walked past a small orphanage. It looked just like the one he grew up in. The children played in silence. He stopped and watched. That evening, he filled out adoption papers. His first child was Caleb, a quiet 10-year-old left at a train station. Then came Lila, a bold girl who had been returned from several foster homes. Over the years, he adopted 5 children, each with their own stories and pain. They were not easy days. Parenting was new and hard. But he never left. He didn't try to be perfect. He made mistakes. He burned dinner, forgot appointments, and didn't always know what to say. But he showed up every day, and his children slowly trusted him, slowly healed. On his 40th birthday, his kids surprised him with a video. It had clips from his talks, his interviews, and dozens of letters from people who read his book or saw him speak. Letters that said, "I didn't give up because of you," or "I finally feel seen." He wept as he watched, not out of sadness, but because for the first time he felt whole. Later, Nathaniel founded the Unbroken Foundation. It helped kids who aged out of foster care find housing support and community. It gave them a place where they were not forgotten, but valued. People often asked him what inspired him to do all this. He would smile and say, "Because I was abandoned, but never broken." When they asked how he survived the hard years, he would pause and answer, "I became the person I needed most." Nathaniel James, the boy. No one chose, became the man who chose others. In his home filled with laughter, noise, and love, he would sometimes sit quietly and whisper thank you to his younger self. The one who didn't jump, the one who decided to live. That choice saved more than his life. It saved many.